good afternoon. We normally do this a little bit earlier, so I will say good morning. And we're actually doing a conversation in the afternoon. I'm being joined by a professional, and we were working around his schedule. So it's actually 3:30 here, local in Dallas. I have been joined by Dr. James Denito. I started doing some, sort of thoughts on how I would do an introduction to you. Before I do that, just for the the purpose of, I get told sometimes that first time listeners don't know what the hell we're talking about. I walked the circumference of the earth, uh, 25,000 miles basically in 6 years, 7 months, 8 days. Learned a lot of lessons. And as I'm halfway through lap 2, we've started these podcasts to chat with folks. Not as a one and done, hey, just give me everything you know, but more conversations, dialogue, characters in my movie. If I can so ultimately pull us into my ego, it's my movie, and you're above the, as we're both older, you're above the title in my movie. So you're a main actor. Um, as I did. So Dr. James Denito, I've been going to close to 20 years now, and I think religiously on a 4-week rotation for going on 5 and change years. And I actually, to my dad earlier, as we were having this conversation about the podcast and that I was going to be talking to you, he's like, yeah, when I was, we were younger and you were a kid, our primary care physician was a chiropractor, and we didn't start having to sort of quote unquote be forced to somebody other than the chiropractor till it was like, I think mid 80s or something like that. So I thought I came to you because you have that powerful tractor brain and pulled me in, but my family's believed in it for a long time. Say hello to everybody.
Well, you are definitely a minority of my patients when you start thinking prevention and start early in life and then make that investment into time. What keeps me busy is mostly people letting life kick their butt, playing catch up, come in when they have a symptom after a car accident. There's no shortage of events and stupid. And sometimes that's actually much more stimulating to my brain to try and pull someone out of a deep hole they've dug themselves into. The prevention stuff gets kind of boring. So for most of those people, we always have to have some deep topic that I can fill their brain with so that I can get them motivated to keep coming back and taking care of themselves.
Right.
Like, give me a reason to live type of thing. So we do a lot of musings and deep thought, and I've had, as always, some new stuff this week. I was watching an interview of supposedly the world's smartest man, and
Wow.
I don't know how he got that title. I thought I was the world's smartest man, but we have something there that this guy's really got, because if you have that kind of gift, like an oracle, you would basically say, what can I construct about this reality that defines this? That's the ultimate quest, is the ultimate truth is, what is this? What are we part of? Why are we here?
Why? Yeah, why?
And that's what this guy is doing. He's putting together the mathematics and all the sciences with an IQ around 200. He looks like a plumber. Doesn't take care of himself like a lot of smart people.
Right.
So we've been talking about him. And I got some new ideas already. I only saw 20 minutes of what he said, and I have to play that over and over again already out of a 2-hour interview. So I don't want to make any of this stuff that we're teaching people on a regular podcasting, your podcast, mine. We don't want to get that deep on there. We want to be able to skim it from the bottom up and say, here's the cream of the information, what it all means, like that.
Sure.
So with all the walking you've done, I've always really never thought about this, but especially with a camera in front of you, have you ever tripped on anything and fell down and skinned your knee, Rob?
So I have a couple of scars on my shin from walking into a wall. I had walked up a hill without my phone in the dark, and when I decided to come down the hill, I was on autopilot, and I pulled out my phone to, can't remember what I was looking for. I think I was trying to figure a time or something, whatever. And I walked straight into the wall, which flipped me over, and it started me on the also my quest with the shoulder injury slash issue. So that was the second one. The first one was I was on and I was trying to do what I'm doing right now. And I'll tell you, most people know this, the secret. I wear the sunglasses so that I can spend 75% of the time making sure that I'm not walking into a hole. Because I've done that before, been on talking and walked into like one of those sprinkler holes. So yes, I have to be careful. I have to be aware. Most people are watching, sort of. I look at it like 25 to 50 feet out in front. You're not looking down straight at your feet. You don't want to walk up on the lion. So we're trying to give that kind of more perspective. But yes, being on my phone, being interested in documenting and putting this together has caused there to be hazards to my health.
I had an accident. I passed on the way to my office this morning. A big old pickup truck T-bone right on the driver's door, put the truck on its side, blocking everybody's passageway. So that's the first thing when you pull out in front of somebody without looking, is that you probably got killed as much as that door was smashed in. You rarely survive a 40-mile-an-hour impact right on the driver's door. But you affect the life of thousands of other people when you block the highway with your stupidity.
Yeah.
So even when people are supposed to look, they have dumb things happen. So I'm impressed you haven't fallen a lot more, because cracks on sidewalks keep me busy. Every few weeks, we got someone coming in with a fall, just out walking their dog or trying to do something healthy for themselves, and surprised by a little slime, a little crack on the sidewalk. And so more power to
I
you there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I should have a warning label. I mean, it's not for everybody, and you should definitely know what you're doing. I'm at 35,000. Over 35,000. There's a whole saga about Fitbit is now owned by Google, and they've stopped giving me a total count. But I'm over 35,000 miles, so I walk an abundance of the same routes in the same paths, and so I know where the holes are, where to be aware. So there, it's raining out. I'm doing a podcast. I think it's important to continue to be consistent. I'm using an umbrella, and the umbrella is blowing around, and I don't really see, and I trip over the curb. That's more of the I need to come see Dr. Denito and get my hip or knee or back or shoulder or whatever. The thing in between my shoulder blades that we fix on a regular basis, I'm convinced is my sleeping on my side. If I could convince myself to sleep on my back without snoring, then I would be better. But I sleep on my side, therefore I get to come see you every 4 weeks and get the middle of my back fixed. So
Well, when you're walking, do you have to kind of like lucid dreaming? Do you have to create a dialogue in your mind of what you want to try and resolve or create something, or you just let something start to percolate out from the scenery around you?
it depends on it. I mean, everything in your life and everything that you do is your choice. Like your choice on how you respond, your choice on what you want to think about. I've gotten uh, without an ego. I've gotten to the point where I can uh, dictate to my hard drive. What do I want to do? Do I want to purely work on defragging, working through issues unresolved, the 20 halfway done things that I did today? Let me get finished with all that and make sure I've got, closure to any open tasks. Sometimes I'm it's emotions. I know I can feel it in my shoulders and feel it. Okay, I got a connection to my daughter and others. I know when sort of there's a wave, and sometimes I put on certain music and types of music that I'll listen to, and it'll take me to a place where I can, have a good cry, shed some tears, feel that emotion not go away, and the situation didn't get better, but it released that energy and that tension in my body and whatever. And yes, there's a lot of other times where I've got a problem, I'll go work the problem out, or I like to do it even, I mean, I'll do it off camera just because it becomes distracting to the average person. They'd rather everybody sit and look at each other sitting in their offices like you are right now. It's just become kind of more the norm that that's the way. And I'm the opposite. I'm sort of over here bouncing around, and people are probably having to take Dramamine or whatever it is to get, keep from getting motion sickness. Um, yeah, I don't even remember the ADD kicks in, and I'm trying to give you all the cliff notes of why it's this way, and I forget what my actual message is. But yeah, I decide what I want to focus my energy on, and then either music, a book if I'm learning, a podcast, say I want to get into a topic, a phone call to a friend that I want to be able to just talk to. And then my problem, to your earlier point, is if I didn't have these paths and routes, is that I get so present in my connection to whoever I'm talking to that yes, I will walk into a hole if I'm not careful.
Well, at least you allow yourself to allow the emotions to come out, to explore the emotional part of you that may or may not be evident that there's something that needs to come out, such as an anger or sadness. Being Italian, I let a lot of that emotional stuff out in dialogue. We don't let that stuff build up inside of us. That's just the way it is. I had to vent watching the last few episodes of the Yellowstone series, of
Okay.
how horribly written that all that was. Where in essence, being a shitty person, being a bad person, is actually rewarded, and the people who were the victims, the people who were more innocent, they were the ones that got washed aside. And so there was not a lot of redemption of that show that made you feel good inside, except the laughing all the way to the bank writers of that thing, where they got people to watch that stuff. Sure, there was beautiful scenery in there, but I had to let it out. And I went online and I looked, and a lot of people on a lot of websites felt the same way, that there was an injustice to how that whole series ended. Why did the person who was always being victimized get killed in the end, and the person who was the protagonist goes on and has a happy life, who was basically a whore and an alcoholic at the same time, all the best virtues of life. So anyway, I had to vent that out to my staff this morning, and I'm sure they're used to it by now.
I feel you. I think um knowing Sheridan, the creator of the show and the writer and the guy that drove that ship, and the ego that he versus Kevin Costner and all the way that that went down, it's left Kevin in a worse off position if you're asking me my opinion. And this other guy's done what he's done, and I think he's in a couple cases done some herky jerky shit with the endings of some of these things where the other, and we're all sucked in. It's probably one of the only series that I actually still watch. And there's the earlier, like 1923 and 1883, and the other pre's, and Harrison Ford isn't one of those. And we actually haven't watched the season finale. We were on vacation out of the country when it happened, and all of the reviews basically said he killed 8 of 9 main characters in one episode. So I think he's got this. I want to tell a story, and I get really deep, and I get really deep, and I get really deep, and it's like one of us having a sales pitch. I have 59 minutes with this guy. I'm at minute 57, and I'm on slide 3 of 10, and I've got to get to the end. So he just vomits all this stuff out there. And yes, the people with the worst virtues are the ones that are at the top. So are we teaching the youth that this is the direction? And then if you watch these pre-shows, you see, like I said, 8 out of 10 or 8 out of 9 main people get killed. These are the people that were his kin that brought him to the dad that didn't have a mom, and then his raising of his own family because his wife died. And yeah, it's got some really, really, really beautiful scenery.
Well, we're raised with fairy tales and they lived happily ever after. And we have a world where there's so many negative things that we just need entertainment to deliver a lot more good endings, where virtues or virtuous life is rewarded, uh, darkness is punished or vanquished, and we're just seeing the opposite. That we just have whatever they can do to shock you, make you angry, and do exactly what I had to do. You go talk about it, and any publicity is good publicity, and so they don't care. They got people to go watch it.
They got
Um,
people to watch it. They got people to get angry about it. And then they've got you mouthing off to all of your staff that are now all going to go just because of Howard Stern proving this, because you made some comment. They're now going to go watch the show.
yeah,
And it's like clickbait on the thing. We reward somehow our reptilian brain rewards the worst virtues, and I don't understand what that is. I actually had that as part of what I was going to ask you. Like, where does some of this shit come from?
well, what I'm still chewing up right now is that the world's smartest man trying to explain the theory of everything. When I got into working out a white paper on how black holes might really work, whether it be in space or whether it be inside of an atom, even there's a mathematical spiral for everything. The
Okay.
the people around that field said that whoever figures out the black hole will figure out the nature of reality itself. So it was daunting to think that, well, no one can figure that out. So therefore, maybe we'll never know what a black hole really is. We know there's something that's there, but when you get to any kind of deep explanation of physics and you want to explain something on the subatomic level all the way up to a galaxy, you you apply science, and science is a religion almost, where in order
Right.
to create an understanding, you create a hypothesis, an experiment, but you have to have something that create what you call fact. This is a given known thing, and I need to compare it to something else, and I will create an equation in that process. And therefore, I have 100% certainty of what this is in my left hand, and I'm going to try and figure out how the thing on my right hand has anything to do with it. That kind of logic led to E equals MC squared, where
Right.
it's a process of dynamics, and it's actually almost an infinity equation, but not quite, where you have one form of energy equaling another state of matter, and they're interposable. They're a yin and yang of each other. But it cannot explain where those sources of energy come from. So that's where this gentleman said, I'm going to look at everything we've got, all the sciences, and put a grand unified theory, which physics people have been trying for a long time as well. And so I don't know if this guy's come up with something, but here's the point. In order to create something that you say, I got it all figured out, you have to have a reference point. You have to have a starting point somewhere. And
Right.
our universe is either infinite or it's finite. Spirituality and religion say it's infinite, no beginning, no end. There is no beginning or end to the space around us, therefore, time and space are boundless. And
Right.
so, if we try and explain any kind of mathematical construct, we can't do it on something that has no anchor reference point to it. So, the reference point that this gentleman chose was a creator, a deity, God. And he said, we're going to assume that this is what religion has told us, that there is a point of truth that it all started from. And I will anchor all of the stuff that we observe, calculate, measure from that reference point. And then he goes on from there. And that makes sense because, therefore, um, without that, we're going to be endlessly chasing our tail. We're not going to get that ultimate truth. And we allow ourselves the luxury of saying, well, we'll learn more of that or all of it when we die, become a energy entity and get closer to that source, find that answer. So it was
Right.
interesting that when I got to sit at a lecture of Sir Roger Penrose, he got a Nobel Prize in physics. I think it was on the black hole or it was on the Big Bang. But he came to Dallas, and I got privileged to get into that auditorium. And he is still alive in his 90s, still a bit disheveled in this character, but like an Einstein person, he gets up there, pulls out notes he written on napkins, and he told the audience waiting with bated breath, "I have some new theories on what happened after the Big Bang."
Okay.
And I think I know how God did it. And that was how he started his lecture. So he had a reference point of a deity as well. And that's
Right.
when I started learning a lot of Nobel Prize winners were not atheistic. They were not religious. They knew something else was out there that had to be a starting point. Otherwise, they were going to chase their tail all day long as well.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see where this guy's going, because if he comes up with something that might help me write the black hole paper differently, I'll be anxious to see that, because in the end, the language of science is math, and that's where it's reproducible. So I'm going to have to see if I can understand this guy's mathematics, because when you have a 200 IQ, you don't learn math, you just know it. It's in your head already. And they can't explain to you how they know the math, it's just there. I've had to learn math, and so I'm having to relearn it all the time.
I have no idea what my IQ is. I because I saw the movie A Beautiful Mind, I do make the comment and I do make the reference that I can see the numbers, and I do feel sometimes that I will get an answer to an equation and I don't remember making any request for calculation. Like I don't remember taking through PEMDAS or any of the process of whatever. I just look at it and go, oh, it's six. So back to, I don't know if it's because I'm whatever, but I think to your point, I love math. I'm curious what I'm curious, and I just have to think, if you start at that reference point, this is the smartest guy, and he's going to give us this formula. What is it going to do? Is it going to give us time travel? Is it going to give us, access? What do you hypothesize that one of these Messiah, like, I don't want to call it Jesus, because I mean, what are these people that 1 trillion people that show up? Where are they taking us? What's the next step?
It's probably going to be nothing more than all the great religious leaders have told us, that this is all in the mind of God, and that's as good as it's going to get. And you're never going to learn any more about why it's here, except how it all works. The boundaries, perhaps, the dynamics of it, how to harness that structure, that buoyancy, that energy to maybe have a better life, a longer life, more fun life, perhaps. That's the word better is sometimes you need to have a little play and pleasure as well.
I
And
was just
maybe
gonna say,
we'll
yeah,
get
there's
that.
nuance. Yeah, nuance. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, but I don't think I think he's already may have said it in the first 20 minutes that you can't figure this out unless you start with a reference point of a creator. And there's a spiral mathematics, and it creates a ratio called the golden ratio. And if you put your pen down and you draw outward the spiral, you have a starting point, but you have an infinite ending. That's called the Fibonacci sequence. But if you say, I'm not going to put my pen down, but where I start, and I have to start somewhere, is a continuation of an endless beginning as well. So when you have a spiral that you look down into the hole and you can't find where it came from, and you have an infinite ending, that's called the golden ratio. And that's still a spiral, but that's the mathematics of our universe. That's the mathematics of a black hole, for instance. That's the mathematics of the water going down the drain in your tub, and
Okay.
a hurricane. And with all that being said, there's where we have a hard time saying, but I need to put my pen down. I have to start somewhere. And so you can't do it on paper. Therefore, the golden ratio is only calculated in a mind experiment. Therefore, you can't just demonstrate it to people.
And there's no way. So I've read the biography on Einstein and how he came up with his theory, and then how they waited for the eclipse so they could measure the waves, and there was a way for him to take his thought experiment, put it to paper, and then we've later found through others that there were some things that he was missing or wasn't. How do we how do we replicate any of this? Do we just, it's all based 100% on faith that that's what's going to happen, or is there a way to test any of it?
Well, I think if we stop trying, even if we never get a good answer, if we just completely accept what we're at, that may not be what we're here for. Maybe the curiosity that's built into most humans. Now, there's a lot of left-wing people that have no curiosity whatsoever to check anything that they're fed by the media. But curiosity is an inherent human trait that um, if we stop that, then we stop all the sciences as well. So I think we're supposed to try and figure this out, but it gets frustrating when you get to a point when you realize every answer you get two more questions. I find that beautiful. I find that exciting. Um, I find that a journey. And so others give up as soon as they have more unanswered questions. They just say, to hell with it. I'm going to sit down in my chair and close my mind. And here we are with most of the world, I think, anymore.
I don't understand why it's become that way. You know, I'm right in the middle of one of the generations. I don't even remember what I am versus the next one. And I have 4 children, biological children. I say in my reference here, 2 before the date, 2 after. They are different species, and I don't fully understand what I'm trying to get back to. My theories, my troubleshooting, my way to try and understand is I'm trying to find patient zero in every equation. Like, how did it start? Where'd this come from? Why did this begin? And I don't understand fully, I don't think, why I'll call it the age of entitlement, because that's what I think is the most common piece to it. I don't know where that came from. Like, I specifically remember saying, and my dad saying, hey, my goal is for you to have a better life than me. And I repeated that mantra to my own children and tried to learn from things he did that I could be better at with the role and the job, and sort of learn and kind of do that. And so I look at it, and I don't know where it broke, like when it became whatever. I don't know if you have any theories on it or if you've thought about that.
A lot of people have tried to graph all that out. You you have all these boundaries they set up where these generations are, and they label them. Before the baby boomer generation that I'm part of, I don't know what they called the generations before me. We just decided to start naming things after World War II.
Yep.
But when you consider all the variables, there is no easy answer. It's changes are in the genetics, changes are in the environment, changes are in the health of everybody as well. If we live longer, will that change our mindset as to what we want to do with our life? If we're living shorter, would that make you lazier to get more of the fun stuff earlier in life? Not want to work for a long retirement down the road. So ultimately, I think if we could summate what's happening with these younger generations, they're all acting and behaving as if there's a shorter and shorter lifespan ahead of them, a doomsday scenario. Maybe they all got a Mad Max movie overload, and they are living as if there are final days, and yet they're doing that without a strong religious construct, because God knows, literally and figuratively, that a lot of Christianity-based religions and Islamic are convinced we're in final days. So what are you going to do when you have that mindset and we're looking around you and you see that's exactly what you do? So do we all know something? Do we know something subconsciously is coming, or is it all nonsense that has been artificially created, kind of like a flash mob mentality, but has no real basis or no real target for what is the impetus of that. So I'm just trying, therefore, to get people to be optimistic and look far down the road. Look down, force themselves to say that they want to live to over 100. Force themselves to think of what life will be like in the year 2050 and not be afraid to say those numbers.
Right.
And think about how excited it could be. And if you start doing that, maybe people will pace themselves differently. But right now, everybody wants to just get it all while it's good, get it all before it's all stolen from us. That's another thing, is that we all knew we had a lot of problems, but the biggest thing we're learning is how much criminality our world created, because that's basically part of good and evil. And if there's this much crime, this much money being stolen, this much identity theft, this much of infidelity, whatever it is, then you start to say, wait a minute, I think evil's winning. And I don't feel that. I still feel there's at least twice as many good people as there are bad. So it's like a bad review at your restaurant. It has too much weight. It's carrying too much, and 100 other good reviews are not carrying enough weight as that one bad one. And we're getting to see how powerful these negative people are and these criminals are. I just got another thing in the mail today. This time is in my wife's name, another fraudulent account trying to be opened with stolen identity. It never ends.
Yep.
But there's that mindset that this crime around us is dragging us all into a more of a selfish mode. When we don't feel threatened and we have more optimism about a long, drawn out future in a good way, we become more selfless and more trusting of each other, more trusting of our government. So it's a tough cycle to break, and we want to blame these millennials and Generation Zs and all that for their laziness. But I think they're just a small part of a much bigger dynamic here.
Well, they were raised by the people ahead of them and the generation ahead of that. So, is there not some level of a blame or impunity or whatever to them as well, if that's the way that we want to? And I'm going to stop us, because I don't live in a world where I think blame gets us anything. Like, it doesn't win us anything. It doesn't help us with anything. I think the optimistic outlook is, in a way, it's kind of like one of the NFT groups I'm in and be friends. That's the way they look at things. It's, hey, I want to be doing this 50 years from now. Hey, they do the videos where they show all the entrepreneurs, like Colonel Sanders, I think, that did KFC, was the last one to be shown. And he was like 62 or 66 or something of that nature when he started KFC. And the point is, you're 20, like 40 years from now, you might start something. Like, I have taken the mantra from the last book that I read, and it said in there, you haven't met some of your best friends yet. And I've started to repeat that over and over. Like, I'm, interested. It's made me a little bit more open with, groups. I'm always kind of the funny guy. I think you know that about me. I'm always making jokes and stuff. But I've tried to be even more open that, one meat suit, one trip, one time, make the most of every day. Don't, live like you're going to die tomorrow, and get the day, but live as you live like you got 50, 40 years from now. You want to be telling your grandkids, whatever, a story and reading a book. And, I'm trying to see you with no teeth, just because my grandpa didn't have any teeth, and it was funny. They'd fall out and they just trying to tell stories by the campfire. But I digress very quickly, very rapidly. I hear you. It feels like everybody is living like they got to get it tomorrow. Layaway is back in effect. We need the products and everything that we need right today. We can't wait for delayed gratification. And I think delayed gratification is the secret to everything. But anyways, that's me. No, I appreciate that. So we talk about, I do a lot of walking. We talk about sort of hey, this is the things you could do. Oh, I boil it down to the fuel you put in your body, the way you move your body, and the way you rest your body. So um, sleep, exercise, and food, and I put them all in equal parts of an isosceles triangle. Actually, think that's probably wrong, but equilateral triangle. And I think they're all important. For me, I think the answer is quick and easy, but is there one of those three that you, in this first episode, would share with folks that, hey, I'm going to drip like little secrets of life, incremental improvements, something that's going to give you a couple percent? What's the hack for sleep? Is it just preparing? I mean, I have this whole ritual, so I have the answer, but is there a kind of a, for somebody that's younger, doesn't want to put a whole shitload of effort into it, and at the same time we could improve their sleep tomorrow, what would be your sort of secret?
I came up with a construct very early in my practice, copyrighted a logo that showed a new logo the chiropractic profession could use. We've got some fun ones like a Da Vinci type of person with an angel wings behind him. So I have this upper body holding up a triangle, and it's kind of the triad of life. It's not like the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. It's based on the states of matter.
Okay.
So at the bottom is solid or structure of the body. Then one side is chemistry, and that is your diet, mostly what you're eating, your environment. It affects all the chemistry of the body. And then when we get into gas, that's still chemistry. So I kept that in that one side of the triangle. The third side was the mind, the spiritual connection. And that's kind of where the fourth state of matter is plasma, high energy type of electrical energy of the brain even. And then I developed it into a poster that got more complex. We call that the Future Health Project. I have thousands of these posters still to hand out to people. I put it together years ago, had original artwork in it. And it was that same triangle, but I filled it in with the genealogy of the world's healing arts. And I wanted to see how they connected together, what allowed the creation of another one where they all spontaneous, when man started thinking of mankind, how to improve our health, live longer, prevent disease. They had to have a construct again, a reference point of, I know what it feels like to be healthy. I don't want to feel bad, and I want to get away from that, back to that reference point. So they would start doing things. They would experiment with herbs. They may have discovered a better night's sleep made a difference. So we have a model, and when people are on a journey of anything, I can give them a poster and say, here, put this up on the wall and get a bunch of little pins that you can stick on any kind of marking system. And look at all of there's hundreds of healing arts listed in the right place on this construct. Put all the pins on this map. It's like a map in the mall and all the stores you've been to. And then you'll see a gap. You'll see it all the time. It's an area you haven't explored yet. And that's usually what's necessary to bring a resolution to the problem the person has. And it might be in a certain direction, like the spiritual part, and it might be in a certain direction, like structural, and they haven't done stretching and yoga and massage and chiropractic.
Right.
It's often in chemistry. So that's part of it, is not always trying to say, well, I have one thing, I want to sleep more, sleep better, more water, more gym. Yes, those are all important, but maybe there's an easier way of getting the discipline or the results you want out of that without having to tackle it directly. Like maybe someone can't go to sleep, not because they have a lack of inhibitors in their brain, like GABA, serotonin. They may have an excess of excitatory chemistry that built up during the day. We all use the word adrenaline. Epinephrine is the proper term, and other excitatory chemicals. And what if we accumulated too much of those during the day? We allowed ourselves too much noise, and the brain is still busy trying to clear all that out for a few hours, and no amount of breaks inhibitors is going to be good enough. And so maybe the better sleep is just a more burning off of that energy during the day. And maybe it's because you haven't gone for a walk or exercise. And maybe it's because you ate too much sugar or had too much coffee. Some of that is so damn obvious. I had a guy this morning. He said he starts his day. He's a very loud, robust man. He's in construction. And he said he starts it off with 8 cups of coffee every morning. 8. And I said, you mean little cups like the European ones? He said, no, mug size. And I said, how long does it take you to do it? He said, oh, about an hour and a half. I just pound them down, then I'm ready to go. So is there still going to be caffeine in this man's mind at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, 12 hours later? Possibly. Most of us break caffeine down in 6 to 8 hours, but with that much? So what if he has trouble sleeping? And he does. So I had to say to him today, we need a few less cups of coffee here. Let's try that alone. Well, I don't have enough energy to go through my day. Well, then we're missing something else. We have to go from there.
Yeah, this is the wrong crutch for you. I'm a recovered black tea-aholic. I was drinking 3 jugs of black tea a day, somewhere in the 550 to 600 milligram plus of caffeine. And I couldn't figure out why at 8 o'clock while I was sitting at the couch watching TV that my right leg would not sit still. Like I was, like a jackhammer. It was like I was just, and I quit cold turkey. I just said, I can't do the tea anymore. I got to whatever. And I don't do caffeine afternoon. So that would be one of my tips that I usually give out, which is I just stop all caffeine by noon. Your science is 6 to 8 hours. The caffeine's half-life is gone, which puts it 7, 8 o'clock at night. You're okay to lay down, and the caffeine should at that point not have any impact on your sleep.
Yeah, and listeners, chocolate has caffeine in it, so a little chocolate after dinner can keep you way up to your brain chemistry, way up to 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Just a nice piece of chocolate, so be careful about chocolate as well.
I'm a Hershey's Kiss guy, and I will do that, and I will take a bunch of them right before I go to bed. And I know, per what you're saying, it'll be a night where my reading for sleep will be erratic until well into 2 o'clock in the morning before I settle down. So, yes, doing and making smart choices in those areas can have a long-term effect, because I think the point on the sleeping side that I guess I never really understood until I understood it is it's a cumulative. It's a math thing again. You need so much per week, so much per day. And if you short on one day, it's not like you get an Amazon package and there's your, missed hours. You need to, make up for it. For me as a younger human, and I would, be a night owl, and then on Saturday or Sunday, I would, sleep till 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, almost lunchtime, to try and get back some of those hours. So try to get into a routine where you're giving yourself plenty of time to get some sleep, and you're doing it on a consistent basis. Being very boring is where I've seen the most value.
A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that the architecture of the brain, the chemistry of the brain, the electrical nature of the brain is designed to promote sleep and relaxation. The brain prefers to be in a quiet, sleep-like state. Therefore, for what we got to do, which is 2/3 of a 24-hour period, we have to fill our brain with excitatory stimuli from our senses as well as chemistry to come out of its natural sleep-like state. So that's what's even more ironic when people have trouble going to sleep. Your brain would naturally want to fall right back to that state. But you have to also say, what is the biggest thing that we say sleep has to accomplish? And the answer is dream. And we have so many ways to explain dreams. We've observed their ability to predict the future sometimes. We've observed the ability to be prophetic to us and give you insights into information. We've had the ability to see other people's lives through the eyes of us in the dream. We now know that we don't experience time in a dream. And yet what it is the brain has got this ability to keep a tether, an umbilical to this metaphysical quantum other place that our spirit, our energy is from. And we get to phone home every night and remind ourselves, comfort ourselves that that's what we are, as we then
Right.
have to awaken into this hellacious world that is around us here with what is basically boot camp for your soul, as I like to call it. So I just remind
Right.
people that when you are really having trouble sleeping, you've had to done a lot of things wrong in order to not let it go back to where it wants to be naturally all the time. And it doesn't ask for much. We talk about 6, 7, 8 hours. 7 is good. 8 is almost too good. But
Right.
when we deprive it and we run on 4 or 5 hours a night, it will take years off your life. It's guaranteed to take years off your life predictably. And we accept that, though. We have people saying, "Yep," and so does eating sugar take years off my life. But damn it, I need my weekend sugar treats. And all these habits that we do are shaving 30, 40 years off of our lifespan. We're dying in our mid 70s, and all of it is choices that we're making, knowingly that it's taking away some of our lifespan on here. So I have a hard time reconciling that. I still tell people I want to be 130 minimum. I pick that number. It seems realistic. I still don't have a reason I'd want to live 300 years, 400 years. But I might change my mind if I find a way to reverse the aging process. There are signs of aging on my body. I admit that. I'm
Right.
much better than most people my age, but I would not want to be past 130 unless I could put 20, 30 years back on without a facelift, though. And that doesn't mean I won't stoop to that level if all else fails. And I'll tell everybody about it. We'll make it a podcast episode and rejoice in my new youthfulness.
I have my surf at 80, so mine is still focused. Call it sub 100 is the goals that I'm looking at, and it's really to be able to move around. I've seen plenty of folks that are in my life that are related or people that somehow I've got a connection to, and they're breathing from an oxygen tank at 78, 79, and it's like I don't want that. I want to be moving. And I think that, we need to do more stuff, do harder things. I'm looking for my Misogi right now. I watched a guy drive over the curb. It's been a while since I've had one of those major sort of events out there. And I think I've let this shoulder, which I need to work with you to resolve, slow me down a little bit. I need to get back into it. So this is the point of it where I think I've taken the time. I appreciate episode one. I was looking at my hand, which is where I keep my notes. Talked about my dad. Talked about our deal. I really wanted to focus on sleep. I brought that really just from um, I didn't sleep really great last night, and you would have thought I would have. My wife has been out of town for a few days. We both had parents with surgeries and things, and she went to go help hers. And while she was gone, I seemed to sleep fine. And then when she gets back, I'm not able to really. And I think I'm feeling some of her energy and some things she's dealing with, but I'm working through. So I was just wondering if there was any secrets you were going to spew out that I wasn't thinking of or doing. I'm still doing all the other things, and I'm getting an extra walking in the heat. The one thing I did not do the same last night, which I think is another hack for me, is I take a really hot shower right before I go to bed, and it makes me hot, which I think the hack is it makes your internal body temperature try to go down, which you want to go down to sleep anyways. And so I didn't do that last night, so that's the only thing I didn't follow as part of my cue. But yeah, sleep was on my mind because I didn't actually get that full good sleep last night.
I think the best, let's just say that one that's guaranteed to get most people to sleep is if someone could give you a 10-minute body massage, back of the body, from middle of the thighs up to your shoulders. There are some famous people who had enough money to get themselves massaged to sleep, full body massages every single night of their life, and live to 100. So we can give that to each other if we have a significant other, our spouse, and it doesn't take a lot of skills. You give feedback on there, and the way that works though is if you massage somebody, then they're supposed to get up and massage you. That doesn't work that way. You got to say Monday night, Wednesday night, and you alternate. But what I find when I massage my wife to sleep, it relaxes me. I dump all the excess energy into my hands for her. And I then fall off and go to sleep just as well as if somebody massaged me. So I want people to touch each other more. Just even at the dinner table, get up behind some of your loved ones and squeeze their shoulders a little bit and think a little bit of stress release before you imbibe in the gift of food and sustenance in there. And how much more we would get out of life if we were just more relaxed when we eat as well, instead of having the rushed appetite. The dinner table, the family sitting down for a fixed dinner is almost non-existent anymore as well. So these rituals we're going to have to come back to one way or the other. So sleep is a ritual, and we just need to develop a few modifications to that. So my suggestion is to start touching each other again, massage each other, and see how that works out.
I am guaranteed to fall asleep if I'm asked and requested to massage her head. I'll get through and I wake up in the morning. So I'm laughing because what you're saying is true. I was selfish last night. I apologize, Amy. I will rub your head tonight and I will sleep better. Thank you for taking time to spend time with me. We and others, I was going to bring this up at the beginning. So why don't you, I make sure I don't say it wrong, perceptional. I always think I'm saying it wrong. We've done another podcast together quite a bit, or 3 times to be exact.
Well, we have a lot of open-endedness to the show. I'm going to start making them shorter, sometimes just little sound bits for the attention span of people. And we'll probably move out of the studio more cost effectively into places like where I'm at now. I have room at my office, and we'll keep going. I've averaged 1 show a month. I wanted 1 a week, but life gets in the way, and a lot of things that are important come up. And I also would like more people to spread the word. We give so much good information on our podcast, and a lot of people are trying. And unfortunately, there's a selfishness, there's a fatigue, whatever it is, that it's a tough thing to become a big name in good information like a Joe Rogan. So
Yep.
We'll just have to be content with our small little cultic like following and go from there with it.
Yeah. So in that spirit, if you're friends with either one of us and you've gotten anything out of this or you've enjoyed, please follow, share with your friends, tell a friend, watch one of the other shows. We've done a couple of, as I said, really good ones. I just rewatched the, what is it? What'd you call it? Sugar and Me or Diet? They had some sort of
Sugar, I don't
whatever.
love you anymore.
Sugar, I don't love you anymore. I enjoyed it better listening to us talk about it the second time. So go listen to those. You can come find us and we'll do this again. Thank you very much for doing this for me.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Until later.
Take care.
Good
All right.
day.
Take care, sir.